Oh man, great conversation even before the
I
conversation.
know. I'm so ready for this conversation.
This has been an amazing week. I hope everybody caught the eclipse. I hope, shout out to my brother Taye because he said it the way I want to say it. I hope you just didn't look at it. I hope you felt it because it wasn't necessarily just to be adored with your eyes, but the total eclipse is a full body experience, and so I really hope that you felt it. I hope you weren't wasting that time talking mess on social media, sharing pictures. I hope you really just took a moment and felt it. Before we get started, I really want to say rest in peace to Shimmy. Shimmy was a brother, and I'm going to show you how it connects to us, Kai, in terms, obviously we have many connections with Shimmy, but I met Shimmy through George. George Harris, rest in peace, George Harris. George and Shimmy I think Shimmy was the original co-host. If not, he was one of the first co-hosts of George's podcast, Crown Jewels.
Really? Wow.
Right? So Crown Jewels was a podcast that George was doing on Front Street. George invited me to come see the podcast. I wound up being on the podcast, but this is maybe 2 years before I was on the podcast. And I met Shimmy, and Shimmy was one of those cats that you see a lot of places, but until somebody connects you and pound them up, now that's your man. So what became of Crown Jewels after George passed away was that me, Lee Rivers, Matt Smith, and Dot Ichiro took over Crown Jewels, and we actually filmed an episode of Crown Jewels in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. That was the first time that I was on a podcast as a host, was Crown Jewels due to George Don. I remember Shimmy being like, yo, that's you, that's your lane, that's you. And so it's a full circle moment that we sit here in our second season of Hip Hop Closets Conversations, a show that Shimmy loved. Like, he spoke to me last year about loving what we did, and now he's gone. And so again, rest in peace to Shimmy. And I want to send some love to our brother Yuji, who I know he's going through it. Yeah, so I just wanted to start there.
That was the first and only time I met him too.
Was when?
That day.
At that day.
Yeah.
How was your weekend? I know you was down in
Oh yeah, I was down in Maryland. Shout out to my Maryland crew, my Howard crew, and Tech crew. Happy birthday, Brandy, and happy birthday, Tony. Tony's birthday today. So happy birthday to her.
Another 5-0?
I don't know.
I don't know. Everybody in our space is 5-0. Them 74 babies is coming out.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get started. The brother to my left, again, another brother who I've seen for years in the mix, but the first time I actually met him, a friend of mine, shout out to Daphne Duge, Heart and Soul magazine. I think it was Father's Day 2017 or 18, one of those years. She's like, yo, I want to take you for Father's Day. Let me take you to this dinner. Private dinner, chef for hire. She sent me the information. I applied for the mailing list so I would get the thing. It's so on Canal Street. You got to walk up the steps. You open the door and it's a private dinner for 20 people. 20 very interesting people were at that dinner. And not no poo-putts, like 20 movers and shakers. The dinner was a 5-course dinner. The theme was Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. I remember that one.
In between each dinner, so the dinner is an infused dinner. In between each dinner, we are given keef or joints or some form of cannabis. Number one, it was an amazing meal. The meal tasted great. But bro, I left that spot so high. And then I had to go up to Harlem Tavern to meet some of my brothers for a Father's Day, session. I had to pull over. I was so gone. But it was such a great event. You had such a well-manicured group of people. It was amazing. I had been to nothing like that. Since then, I've come to know this brother. We on a documentary. What's it? Black Markets, Green, something. The documentary that the brother's doing. I can't think of the brother's name. I just saw him.
What? What's his? Ukachi?
Unkachi, right. Shout out to you. I see this brother in passing. He's tribe now. He's somebody who's here, and I had a great conversation with you about illegal smoke shops, and you educated me so much in like 10 minutes. So I know that this conversation is going to be worth it. And we're going to get started. I want to introduce to some and present to others Mike Salmon, otherwise known as Hawaii Mike. There you go. Pleasure. How you feeling?
I'm blessed, bro. I'm happy. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm 50. Shit.
Yeah.
I'm 50 going on 35.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We are the flyest generation.
Oh, for sure.
Because even at, I'm 48, I'll be 49 in June, but even at this age, we look way better than cats that are a generation under us. We are the first generation of being holistically healthy. Our forefathers were into smoking cigarettes and other things. We're the ones that brought holistic health into the mainstream culture.
Yep. I would say we're the translation generation.
The translation generation.
The last of analog, the first of digital. Right? They were able to understand it, navigate through it.
Right.
So we know how to build a fire, be outdoors, take care of what we need to do, but we also can handle on our phones and do everything we need to do on the computer and the internet and social media.
That's real. When technology quickened, we were old enough to be in step with the quick.
Yep.
Because we were raised on Betamax, VHS, even before Betamax, right? Even before Betamax, rotary phones, the black and white. I had a black and white TV.
I used to do in school. We used to do the tests, the printing of the tests on the purple ink.
Right, with the stenograph. I think it was called.
What that shit was called the
you took it back with that. The microfiche. Remember having to go to the library and the period, the table, right? So you're right. I like that. I like that. I want to get started. I'm going to go back and we're going to talk about your history, but I want to talk about the 2 Steps Down location that you're at now, because that's a very iconic location in Brooklyn Law, Central Brooklyn, Clinton Hill. I'm from Clinton Hill.
Yep.
And you've taken it and you're moving it into the next iteration. Tell me about just how long you've been there. What's your vision, ideation there?
So interestingly enough, I moved to the Wave in January '94.
Okay.
So I've been in the hood for a long time. Right. So the Juicy videos was getting off of Clinton, Washington. That's what it looked like every day.
Right.
Like they was literally right there.
Right.
I ended up having, 2 Steps was a neighborhood, like it's iconic. It's a landmark. You know what I'm saying? If you're a person of color from downtown Brooklyn through Bed-Stuy,
It's 2 steps down.
You've been there.
Facts.
Those brunches.
Jazz on Sundays.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Spinner used to DJ in there.
Fact.
Like it was a thing. I actually had my son's birthday in there 21 years. His baby shower in there 21 years ago. And my goddaughter's first birthday in there 18 years ago. I had originally had this spot in 2020. Same concept, a celebration of hip hop through food. Pandemic hits, had the spot for like a year, but I think the universe was like, yo, I just want you to learn how to operate first, because I never worked in a kitchen. I never had like any of that. Like, I never did it. And it wasn't the 50th anniversary yet. People's mindsets wasn't caught up, ready for celebration. Right? And so now that's what we're doing. So the pillars are community, because if we communicate unity, we can show how similar we all are. We break bread and use the universal language of food, right? To share who we are and how similar we are. We eat a lot of the same foods. We eat like a lot, and we mix and match and put things together just like hip hop. And then we want to celebrate this culture that really brought us all together. That's the foundation of what we're doing. I feel like 2 Steps was really about the community, and so we're just kind of moving it to the present and adjusting the community, taking some of those that still relate, and then bringing in a whole new thing. So
What I'll say is that 2 Steps Down was always a crossroads space. It was a space that when you walked in, you ain't know who you was going to see, but you knew you was going to see somebody. And I think the same applies now to your iteration. It's a bit of a crossroads space. I saw you had Bomani Jones in there.
Yes, sir. So Bomani's a good friend.
Right. Okay.
And so we basically.
He went to Clark with my sisters. My sisters are cool with him. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dope. Yeah. So we should let me know after the show. I'll hit him. But yeah, basically, with him, it was like he always wanted to do the Evening Jones live, and felt like he's not really the full extrovert if you know him. So he wanted to do something that would like put him not necessarily out of his comfort zone, but extend it and make it personal, because that's what the Evening Jones is about, is answering people's questions, listeners' questions. So we did a dope dinner for like 20 people. They got to kick it with him, got the cipher afterwards. He passed out some joints and went up and did the show.
Perfect.
And now we're looking at taking that on the road.
That's awesome. Now, where did this begin for you? Like, well, let's get started from the beginning.
Yep.
Where you from?
I'm from San Francisco.
From the Bay Area?
Yeah. Born and raised in San Francisco and Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
So I moved to Hawaii when I was 5.
Where in Hawaii?
Island hopping. So I leave on Oahu, Kilauea on Kauai, actually then Lahaina on Maui, then Kilauea on Kauai, and then I moved to California with my dad.
What's your favorite Hawaiian island?
Probably Maui. Probably the space that I remember the most. Not Maui. So Maui is what just fucking Lahaina is what burned down. Right? So there was a school, King Kamehameha 2, right there on Front Street where the big banyan tree is, and I used to go to that school. So seeing all that burn was like heartbreaking to me, because that was a lot. That's a lot of memories for me, and that was just a special place. But it's Maui or the North Shore for me.
Yeah, Maui's where I met the dopest people, because I went up to Hana.
Yeah.
Right? So I took the trip up to Hana, and I met like some brothers that are like indigenous, and they were up there, and we had an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
But in terms of peace and clarity, it's Kauai.
Oh yeah, for sure. Kauai is rainy, it's wet, it's lush, it smells incredible.
It looks like the way God designed it.
It feels like life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, because it's so lush and because the plants and everything is so just incredible and indigenous to that place, you know? And I think also, you know, we talk about energy, right? So there's nowhere else on this planet like the Hawaiian Islands, or really the Polynesian Islands. I'm just gonna talk about Hawaii because that's where I've been, right? There's nowhere else you can go that's that far from a continent where there's life. Like, nowhere. You're 3,000 miles.
Literally.
Yeah, you're 3,000 miles each direction.
From mainland.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? And really what you're standing on top of is hardened magma from the center of the earth. Right? So that's some of the most fertile soil that you can have.
I went to a black sand beach. I think it was it may have been on Maui. Yeah.
It was Hana.
Yeah, Hana.
Yeah, it was on the Hana side. It was by the 7 pools. Yeah. So that black sand beach over there, so that's literal volcanic ash.
Right. Like I had it in my hand. It was like, this ain't sand. This is ash.
That's ash.
Right.
Right. And that's the energy of that, right? Like, I mean, you think about the Earth's core. That's all of our energy. That Earth's core goes out, we stop. Right?
I never thought about it like that, but I did feel that while I was there.
Direct, like, you know, and it's still young. Like Hawaii, the big island, is still growing. The volcano's still erupting. Every time that volcano erupts, that island grows. So it's the largest, but it's the youngest island.
Wow.
You know, so the energy there is just different.
When'd you get there from San Fran? How old were you?
I was 5.
Okay, so you was young.
I was young. I was young, but bro, it's etched like I lived there in another life. Like I went back. I went back when I was working at the Source. I took Black Rob surfing.
I gotta hear that
Rest in peace.
Right.
And yeah, that was like the first time I went back. I think it was like 99 or 2000. And man, it was like I never left. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to drive. I never even drove there. And I knew how to drive around.
How many years did you stay there as a child?
5.
So from 5 to 10.
Yeah.
Then you came back to Cali.
Went back to San Francisco.
What did your parents do for a living?
Musician. Well, my mom was working with growers in Hawaii, so that's why we went out there.
Dope. Okay.
My father's always been a musician, always played music, and I was, you know, that's how I grew up. I was in a very musical household, but they play Brazilian music mostly. A lot of
brothers and
bossa nova.
sisters?
Nah,
Just you?
Half.
Right.
So I have a half brother and a half sister on my mom's side, and then a half brother that's 6 months younger than my oldest son on my dad's side.
So now you in Hawaii. Tell me about your first connectivity to hip hop. Was it out there, or was when you came back?
It was like, what's it called came out when I was in Hawaii. Rapper's Delight came out when I was in Hawaii. So I had heard that. And then when I got to San Francisco, it was like KMEL was actually one of the first FM stations that played a lot of hip hop. Like they played a lot of rap on that station. You know, so I started getting my connection with that, and I was a dancer. I was a b-boy. Like that's what got it for me. It was the style, it was the color, it was the clothes. For some reason, I love sneakers all the time. So figuring out fat laces and just all of that, it was just something that was just so unique, like, and authentic, and it just called to me. Like, and you know, you're in the lunchroom, you see who's banging on the table, you see who's rhyming, you see who's dancing, you see who's got their fucking sketchbook out, you see all of that, right? And then you just start aligning with all those people, and they become your friends.
Right. Now, I feel like you are a very, the word I think I want to use is religiosity. What I really mean is like spirituality, but also doctrinated. So tell me about that. Growing up, were your parents religious people?
So spiritual, not religious. My father was raised Catholic. My mother was raised Christian. Mom is super, like, my mom was smoking weed with me in the womb, dropped acid 2 days after I was born. Super hippies.
Right. Super hippies.
Super
right.
hippies. Right.
Which is to say, free from the conformities of that time.
Exactly.
Right.
And my father ended up going Buddhist. Right. And so I started, you know, just understanding. So for me, it was, I forgot who says it, but I don't know if it's Rumi or somebody, but it's like, you know, for me, there's truth in every religion, but there's not 100% truth in any. Right? And if you think about who we are as humans, we learn by foraging. In hip hop, we call it sampling. Right? And so that's kind of what I've done, is sampled everything. I mean, finding what's good for me. I was introduced to transcendental meditation as a child because my uncle went and studied with the Maharishi. It always was in my head. I just started TM 5-6 years ago.
But you had it. The seed was planted when you were a kid.
Exactly. Right. So there was a lot of those things where it was like, you know, it takes time to sow and to grow, and you know, when it's right for you, if you're paying attention, you grasp onto those things as necessary. And that's kind of what it's been for me, is the evolution of finding what my kind of spirituality, like my balance is.
What did Mike want to be when he was 10?
When I was
12,
a kid?
or 15?
Honestly, like the first thing I wanted to be was like a stockbroker.
That's funny.
I wanted to be in finance.
That has to come from like a movie or some shit.
Yeah. I can't remember what movie. I don't know if it was Wall Street or you know, but it was some shit like that.
With Michael Douglas or Tom Cruise, one of them shits.
Yeah. Like, and I had the briefcase and was getting custom suits made when I went to the Philippines, and you know, like that was what I wanted to be. And then when it got time to go to college, my father never paid taxes. It's all good now. Never paid taxes, and you know, as a musician, skirting by, barely making ends meet.
Hand to mouth. Right.
But when I went to go get financial aid, they were like, "Oh, your father's either going to go to jail or get deported."
Ooh.
I was like, "Is there any other options?" They were like, "Yeah, City College."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or pay the money.
Right.
I was like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
And so I went to City College, and it just didn't work.
City College here in NY?
No, I was still in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sidebar, what do you feel about the Bay Area now? Like, I see they're going through a lot with the homelessness, with like the opioid epidemic.
You know, San Francisco, since you know, Haight-Ashbury days and that kind of influx of all the hippies, has always had that free will kind of vibe to it, right? I mean, even if you look at Steve Jobs and Apple, right?
Right.
The man was doing that acid,
the whole shit,
creating computers,
right?
Right. And you look at the whole Bay Area, and you think about Silicon Valley, it's like a lot of that was built from that. I still believe the internet was built off of mycelium. Right. Mycelium's the largest and oldest living organism. It was basically Earth's internet. And that's how I believe the internet.
And that's how the internet,
right? How do we connect everybody?
Wow, that's it.
And you think about mind expansion or spirituality and mindfulness, and you start these practices, you start to understand that everything outside of us is just happening. Like you were saying before, a lot of these things aren't real, right? They're just these things that are just going, and they're real once you participate with them. But if you don't, it seems like it's almost not, right? And so a lot of the news and propaganda, information that's spewed, it's like, how do you navigate kind of, you know what I'm saying, through all those things? And I think that's what a lot of those people are kind of doing. And so now we've had those people living, we've had tent cities, we've had all of these things. I really think what they're doing right now is, again, trying to run the spot down and then allow the powers that be to come in, get the real estate on the low, build up again. Just how they do.
Develop.
Yeah,
It's the same cycle.
It's the same. It's the same cycle.
cycle.
It pushes us out. It raises the prices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like those spots, Valencia Gardens, the VGs, those are all like townhouses now. You know what I'm saying? But they were the same structures almost. I don't know if they changed anything.
Right.
They just updated it.
But they used to be like projects.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And now they're $multi-million spots, and
Right.
it's like y'all could have just left us there, and we would have been good. Now you go to San Francisco, Walgreens and Safeway, and they're shutting down left and right because they turned that new law. If it's under $800 or $1,000, you can't stop anybody for shoplifting.
Yeah, and that's hurting California.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're literally going. There's people sending their families in. All right, kid, you go get the meats. You go here
Right.
get this. I'm gonna go get the cleaning supplies. There, you just get a cart and just walk out.
And just walk out and they can't stop
They
it.
can't stop them. You know, so it's tough.
One of the things about you that I noticed once I got to know who you were was that I would see these pictures like at the Gavin or at these different hip hop things, and you would be like in the back, like it'd be a picture like Big, and like right over his shoulder back there is Mike.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the BRE.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking
right.
about.
So tell me about, so you go to City College in San Fran, you come over here in 94. Tell me about
So it's funny you bring that up, right? So you brought up the Gavin. So we were B-boys, and some of my homies got to be really good DJs. Mixmaster Mike, DJ Qbert, Visible Scratch Pickles, those are my homies. So their manager, Alex Aquino, started Zulu Nation out there, the
Wow,
chapter. So we were
okay.
Zulu chapter back then, when we were probably like 88, 89. And so, you know, we were at all the events. Everything that was happening, we would be there. And when the Gavin, we started getting word of the Gavin because some of our people were rapped and they wanted to do showcases and all this. We started like figuring out how to get in. So we would just copy the badges back then because there were nothing but, you know what I'm saying, paper.
Right, I didn't
and
all
copies,
that.
and we would
Yeah.
just make it up and
Right,
put
just
names
make the
down.
copies, right.
Yeah, so I think 90 or 91 was the first year we did that. And I would just go there and sell weed. Also, dance, listen to music, chill. I met Bobito. Bobito was the first person I got a business card from
Wow.
in
Shout
the
out to
music
Cool Bob
in the
Love.
music industry.
Yeah, okay,
right.
yeah.
And that's when he was still at Def Jam doing radio promotions.
Wow.
He was at the door. The reason we hit it off because my fake ID said Michael Suarez, and he told me later that was one of his best friends growing up.
Michael Suarez.
Yeah.
Right.
That was one of his best
Right.
friends' names, so we always hit it off. You know, and then ended up 25 years later, I do the merch for the Stretch and Bobito 25th anniversary.
Let's back up for a minute about the cannabis and selling weed back then.
Yeah,
Because
go
like,
ahead.
was you like buying ounces? Tell me how a teenage Mike was copping. Was you copping quarter pounds? Like,
So my pops used to sell weed to, you know, subsidize not
right,
working a lot.
Right.
I started by taking weed from him.
Okay. All right.
It happened years
Right.
later. He tells me, he's like, "Do you know I used to buy weed from?" I was like, "Nah." He was like Dennis Perone. He's like, "You don't remember Dennis Perone?" So long story short, Dennis Perone is basically the godfather of legal cannabis.
Wow.
So he's the one who started Prop 215 in California. Like crazy.
Yeah, big shit.
So all those things, and as you'll hear throughout my story, are all things that tell me I'm on path, I'm in my purpose.
Right.
Like as I look back, like this is all exactly where I'm supposed to be, which gives me so much trust, and that trust gives me patience. You know?
Right.
And so selling weed at the Gavin, met some dudes named Albie and Jameson, shout out to them. The second year, we're at a show, and I remember this show because it was the first show I went to that represented almost the whole like United States, like East, West, North, South. It was UMC's,
Okay.
so New York.
So yes, that now.
It was Black Sheep, which at the time was North Carolina.
Right.
It was Arrested Development, Tennessee. It was Crisscross, ATL. It was MC Breed from Detroit. It was Twista from Chicago. It was, who was from Texas? It was somebody from Texas. I can't remember the Texas. I'll come back to the Texas. It was Farside, and then Spice One from the Bay.
Damn. That's an amazing
At
show. That's
one
a
show
legendary
in
show.
1992. It was February 1992 at the Gavin.
Wow.
And Paul was in the bathroom. I was selling these dudes weed.
Right.
And they were just like, "Bro, like, what are you doing here? Like, how old are you?" I was like, 18.
Right.
They were like, yo, you gotta hustle. Like, do you even know where you're at? And I was like, bro, I'm in the bathroom selling y'all.
I'm in the bathroom, right? I know where I'm at.
I know where I'm at. And they were like, nah, like, this is about to take off. Like, the music industry's dope. You could really do well. Like, if you come to New York, we'll find you an internship. If you can't internship for me at Tommy Boy.
Who's telling you that?
Albie and Jameson.
Albie and Jameson.
So Albie was A&R at Tommy Boy, and Jameson was head of radio promotions at PWL.
This not Albie that used to wind up promoting parties. He promoted Club New York.
Of course.
I know Albie.
Yeah, Albie Ragusa. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, that was February. June, I drove cross country with a couple of friends and moved here with $2,000.
Where'd you move?
I moved to, luckily I had like some second cousins. My dad's side of the family had like far removed cousins and was basically like a caretaker of my Lola, my grandmother. And stayed with them for a second, slept on Albie's couch.
Where? What part
in
of New York
Douglaston.
City?
Not even New York City. I was in Douglaston.
It was upstate.
Bro. No.
Where's Douglaston?
Douglaston is the border of Long Island and Queens.
Oh, you were over there.
Yeah, so it was the Q12 for like 45 minutes to the 7 at Flushing.
That sounds wild. Yeah, that sounds wild.
And then I would have to get off and catch the F or walk from 42nd Street to 26th and 6th.
Right. And you did that every day.
Yep. So I got hired as an intern on the set of Diamond D, Best Kept Secret. And that was the first record I did college radio promotions for as an intern.
Right. So you came to New York chasing hip hop, in a sense.
Yep. Chasing your career, remember? You said the first thing I wanted, I was in the
Right.
in the
You went from
financial.
so now you here, you ain't think maybe I could be a stockbroker. You just because you was on your path.
Nah, because college didn't resonate with me.
Right.
It didn't speak to me. College, I went to the school of hip hop. I went to the hip hop university.
Right.
I got to learn it all.
And I learned it all.
Learn it all.
So now you here, now you working in the music industry. Tell me about that life. So you were interning for
PWL America that turned into Chemistry Records. So it was Diamond D, it was Ed O.G. and the Bulldogs, and rest in peace, another artist named Scientific. But also out of that label, so LA worked in there, Leslie Dunn, who works with Malik now, right? So she did the whole program for him, all his food thing he did.
Oh!
Yeah. Leslie, LA.
Wow.
So that's my big sis.
Bro, your story is crazy because I'm like catching people that I know, like, oh, wait a minute, okay.
Yeah, that's my big sis.
Nice.
Right? She used to protect me forever. And this other woman that worked in there, Paula Bradshaw, had a PR agency. So I used to always smoke with one of her clients on on the fire escape. Cool ass dude. Knew they was in some shit, but it was whatever.
Right.
Years later, Paid in Full comes out. And I'm like, that's the AZ I used to smoke with? I never knew. Because I'm not from here.
Right, because you don't know.
So I didn't know Rich Porter and AZ.
Right, you ain't know the
law.
You ain't know the urban law. Right.
But I used to blaze with him crazy every time because I always had Cali weed because the weed out here was trash. So
How'd you get the weed from Cali?
I mean,
Drive back and forth. It's fine. Statute of limitations is up.
statute of limitations is up. It was a post office, bro.
Yeah, okay. Remember the Tide? You ever
Overnight.
did that with the big detergent and put it in the detergent?
Yeah,
and
but
seal it back
then
up?
that shit used to be too much. I used to just do clothes and other shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because college kids always had clothes and towels and shit like that sent out here. You know what I'm saying? So stuff that felt like that was a little bit different.
Right.
The smell would emit, and they started getting on the fabric softeners.
Right, they got on it after a
they
while.
got on all that.
Were you cooking at this time?
So I've always cooked. Like I learned how to cook. I started cooking at 9 because my mom was vegan. So in Hawaii, I started learning how to cook, getting recipes from my dad. My first job was a prep cook. So I've always cooked. I've always had skills in the kitchen. But I wasn't cooking like that then. I was just cooking for, friends and family.
Right, but
not with, like I was messing around in high school with friends. I always tell these stories like, bro, I used to just throw trees in butter. And the butter would like evaporate and just go into all the weed.
Right.
And I would just be stuck with crunchy ass weed. It was horrible. But again, like all of those things lead me to,
where you at now.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all part of the path.
I want to talk about the life of a weed man, right? And because, over the years, I've had some very reliable weed men, right? Cats that I could go to their crib at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. And because you're the holder of ganja, you come across people in a different modality than others do, right?
Oh, yeah.
You smoke with people that yo, I got a friend. He was married. I shouldn't even say this because fuck it. I'm gonna say it anyway. His wife didn't even know he was a smoker. He would smoke weed for years, bro. And I used to be like, how does she not know? She don't smell it on you. I don't know how he got away with it, but she ain't know. So what I'm saying is, your weed man knows you in ways that others don't. Your weed man will give you credit, right? Your weed man is the person that you come to in all facets. So I want you to talk about that. Like, how's it being a weed man in the industry?
So, cannabis is something that's very special. We have a symbiotic relationship with the plant, right? We have an endocannabinoid system. The cannabinoids that are found in the plant help, activate that system, right? And what the system wants to do, because it affects every other system in our body, is create homeostasis. It basically wants to create balance, right? In our bodies. That's why they tell you, like, it affects your drive, it affects your sleep, it affects your mood, it affects your appetite, it affects pain, like everything. How is that, right? And cannabis is the only thing I know on this planet that we'll share with strangers.
Right.
Put on our lips and then take back.
Right.
I don't know I know husbands and wives and couples that will not share straws, but will share joints. Right? And so there's a connection, and the reason, like the things you were saying before, is that kind of connection. This is something that's so authentic and real and natural to our biological nature that we have a certain level of respect that comes with it. Right? And so for me, the thing that got me was I always had better weed than everybody. Especially in the early 90s.
Right, because you was getting that Cali.
Yeah, so I say rest in peace too much, y'all. Rest in peace to Big Cap. So we used to be...
Rest in peace to Cap.
I remember one time we was in Tramps. I was with Albie. Me and him lighting up, because he's one of the other few people that would get Cali weed. And Cap moved away from us, because he was like, yo, that shit stinks.
It's just too much.
He was like, yo, I don't know what y'all is smoking, but I can't. You know, and so... You know, being I role managed Mobb Deep. I worked at the Source magazine, and again, I always had weed. So if you came to the Source, you had to come to my office to smoke weed or buy weed. And so it was just all kinds of relationships built. And if you know me in the music industry and you smoke weed, or outside of the music, if you smoke weed, you got a story with me. Right. Everybody's got a story. Right. Everybody says one time, yo, I remember Hawaii, yo, I smoked. Oh my God, I'll never smoke with you again. It was too strong. Right. Or, you know. Bun B's an incredible longtime friend of mine because of that. He was on a photo shoot at the Source, needed trees, and who do they call? Me, of course. Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you use the word symbiotic. I love that word because that's what I was trying to get at, is like the holder of the ganja, the weed man, is the center point for any universe that he steps in, right? Wherever you are, the one commonality, I don't even have to know this person. But if that person cops from you and I cop from you, we now have a symbiotic relationship. When all I got to do is see him with you one time. And now I don't ever have to see him with you again. And that's my man, because we both cop from you, right? So it's deeper than, and you don't, bartenders are not like that. Right? Like, even chefs and restaurateurs are not necessarily like that. Like, you know, everybody has a favorite bartender, but just because that's my favorite bartender, that don't mean we gonna fuck with one another. But if you have a specific weed man, it's special. It's special to the whole cipher.
And it's the connector, like you said. Right. So if they're good with me, both of these people, but they don't know each other, they'll be good automatic.
Immediately. You know, and God forbid we all sit and blow a tree with you. Now, we good.
Well, again,
because we under one accord.
Was a cipher.
Right. It's a circle.
We close the circle.
Right. We close the circle.
There's completion. There's 360. This always happens when you smoke. Right. And then as I got older, that became way more intentional. Like way more intentional.
What did you like more, the road managing, the music thing, or the ganja?
Everything. Like again, it was my school. I was literally in school. I was learning. I learned every day. I want to learn something every day. And like I always tell people, I've lived like 5-6 different lifetimes. Facts. Just in, you know what I'm saying? Like, even like my families, like my mom's from Brazil. Like, you know what I'm saying? Was raised there in 9 countries in Africa and Thailand and in the Philippines, and then came to the States. You know, my grandfather's from Palestine on my father's side, married a Filipino woman in the Philippines, stayed there, and then my father came here. So it's just part of the universal language, man.
Right.
You know?
Right. Tell me about the 90s. Give me some give me some insight. Tell me a good story or something that is indicative of Mike and his positioning in the 90s and who he was.
I mean, some funny stories, like I was Benzino's record label.
What you mean you was Benzino's record label?
So when I was at the Source, like the first time, I was the mobile marketing manager. So remember we had those big vans?
Yeah, I remember.
So I used to do, you know, I worked with my man Oos, shout out to Oos, and Oos drove, and I did all the programming, dealt with all
You know
the
Ja Born?
Ja Born.
Ja Born's real name is Andre, but he used to drive the Source
Where?
mobile van.
Where?
And it
depends what year.
In DC in the 90s.
Nah, but I might, but that might have been after I became the lifestyle editor.
Gotcha.
I moved off because when we was doing it, we only had 2 vans when I was doing it, right?
Okay.
And then we did they did the Mountain Dew and Pepsi thing,
Right,
and then
right,
we
I
had
remember
like
that.
the 8 dualies that were all over the country,
right.
and so that's when we had different drivers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I was basically Surrender Records was what it was called.
And you was the record label.
I did everything from, you know, all the recording sessions that were here to mastering to getting the albums pressed and
One man show.
One man show, did it all. So that was, you know, interesting. And you see where that was, I think, before what's her name was born. What's his daughter's name? Coy Lorraine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was during what was the name of
It was
that
like
crew?
right when.
What's the name of his
Almighty
crew?
RSO.
Right.
Yeah, so basically though, what he was doing then was actually like kind of good because we did this compilation called The Wise Guys. And it was basically like all the different hoods in Boston.
Right.
Put them all together, put them on songs together, or they each represented their spot, and, you know, again, trying to show some unity. That's what hip hop was about. Hip hop was bringing everybody together because it was an authentic expression of our modern human experience.
When do you think that changed?
In the 90s. So we're talking about the 90s,
Right.
in the 90s, right? You know, another story is when I first got in the music industry, it was $5,000 to $25,000 videos. It was a great budget. In 97, Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson had a $2.4 million video in 5 years. In 5 years.
Right.
Right. DMX has 2 #1 albums in 98. 98, 99, you start looking at top 10 charts in the Billboard 200, you got 8 rap albums.
Right.
So we went from culture first to business first. Whether that was our lovely president's crime bill that he penned, the reason why Ice Cube's album was called Predator, remember? To those meetings that were had, right? To the privatized penal system.
Right. Vanguard, BlackRock. There's a lot of people that have talked about those things.
You know what I'm saying? And basically what happened is it became business first. It was all about the business of music and rap and how do we exploit this and sell this. And from our perspective, it was like, how do we get ours? How do we get that shine? How do we get the radio and airplay that we know we deserve because we know what this culture is?
Did you feel the shift when it was happening?
I felt the shift of exposure, of opportunity, of just a greater awareness and reach that we had. But I didn't necessarily feel that negativity, right? I felt once there was the contrived East Coast, West Coast shit, because like when I was at the Source Awards, like that was like my first, time there in 95. That was my first year. And so when the whole thing went down with Suge, like, and then Pac and everything after, it was a Death Row Bad Boy Biggie Pac beef. It wasn't an East Coast West Coast beef.
Right. At no time.
At no time. Until Vibe said that shit.
Right.
And Vibe put that shit out there.
Right.
And then the media took it and became this whole thing. And then it was like, oh shit, what happened? We're not all in the same gang no more? What happened to self-destruction?
Divide.
Right?
A very prompt and quick divide.
Now think about divides, right? Think about dissension. Think about separation. Creates anxiety, creates stress, creates tension, conflict, right? That's how organized societies create hierarchies.
Right.
that's how what Hakeem from Channel Live now tells me. That's how we went from the rappers becoming the what's it called? He said rappers started to become the cotton, right? We started to get picked and exploited and utilized for our value and then tossed away. You know what I'm saying?
And to the point where we are now, where the whole thing is disposable.
Right? To a point where it's disposable in a sense where, you know, rappers are talking about killing each other and actually doing it.
Killing each other.
Where before we were reflecting the shit we was going through, not saying we want to do this, but this was my life.
Right.
Like, nah, I talk about this so I can get past this.
I was talking about this today. There was tons of hip hop beef. You look at LL versus Kool Moe Dee. You look at Busy B and those cats. Like, there was a bunch of beefs where you didn't worry about death.
No, it was competition.
Right.
I mean, it was. Some people don't like calling it sport, but in a sense, it was a sport.
Right. And even though Biggie and Tupac didn't kill each other, the way in which they died created a shift in this idea of what rap beef can become.
Oh yeah. And then like they were talking about it yesterday with the Cole and
the Kendrick,
and
right?
the Kendrick
I was
thing,
the barbershop talking
like
that same
D1.
shit.
I love what he's talking about. You know who he is? D1 Music.
No.
So he's talking about this whole great divide and change and holding rappers accountable, right? But the one thing he was saying is rap is not a sport. I'm like, bro, that means you're too young.
Right, you don't understand.
You don't understand.
It's absolutely a sport.
It's absolutely a sport.
It's absolutely a sport.
Competition is super healthy because everybody wants to be the best.
As long as the MC has been part of rap, a part of hip hop, part of the culture, the MC has always been boastful.
Yeah.
I've spoken
It comes from the dozens.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it comes from the
from
dozens.
talking shit.
Right.
Snapping.
I've spoken to first generation rappers that would tell me they were in parties rapping about Cadillacs outside that they didn't have.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So it's always been a boastful and I'm better than you kind of thing. And you have to have been there during that time to understand that. And that's why, I mean, and we could talk about the Cole thing later, but that's why I got a theory about this thing. I really think Son is being self-righteous because you can't take away that from rap. You can't take away competitive nature from rap.
You can't.
And you're okay. And like, we don't expect...
healthy competitive, right?
Yeah, but we don't expect Cole to kill a nigga.
Yeah.
I don't expect Kendrick to kill nobody.
No.
I want to hear good competition.
Yeah.
It's a one-on-one.
I want to hear them go at each other.
It's like this. Like when you were in school and somebody was like, yo, Mike, I want to shoot the fair one after school.
Yep.
You had to shoot the fair one after school. You couldn't duck doing that.
Nah.
That's the culture we grew up in. And so it's the same thing with this quote unquote, and I don't like to use the word beef because it ain't really beef, with rap and the competitive nature of the sport.
But that's the program. That's the media. That's the media ushering in this propaganda and magnifying something and putting different energy on it that doesn't need to be there.
Correct.
Right? It's not beef.
Right. It's not beef.
Yeah, rap beef isn't two MCs battling.
Right.
Rap beef was motherfuckers had beef when it was like boot camp click versus boot camp click.
Right.
When Mystical got out of the army or whatever he was in, and boot camp click, and then there was real beef with Jack the Rapper.
Right.
Right? Because now that's beef.
Right.
When you're actually fighting, you're putting hands up. But to go after each other like that way, and the way they're putting it now, and how they're contextualizing it, is making it violent, and it doesn't need to be. And you talk, like you said, Kendrick and J. Cole are the last dudes.
No one's expecting y'all to do anything.
Nah.
Right.
And especially not Drake.
Right. Right.
Like Drake is back in the closet. Like but that's what I'm saying. And so, and again, we were having this conversation off camera, but that's this media age that we live in, where we can't discern from what's actually real versus what we're seeing in social media, which is contrived by the powers that be, which is, you know what I'm saying, just clickbait.
Right. Right.
Right? There's so much that you have to get through. There's so much noise we live in. And so if you're not here, I feel bad for everybody who's living out there.
Right, because you're just going with the wind. It's like whatever.
You're not
tethered to anything.
It's like the light with the cats, the flashlight with the cats,
and they'll do it all day.
Anywhere it goes.
And that's what's happening.
That's what happened.
How long were you at the Source?
So I did 95, summer of 95 to November 97, and then I went back in 98 I started at Source Sports. I was doing like sneaker stuff, and then 99 I became the style and technology editor at the Source.
Now, during all this time, you're in the 90s here in New York City.
Yep.
All the spots,
Oh,
Metronome, Duvet, Cheetah,
Everything.
Essos, Club New
Everything.
York.
The tunnel. My wife was one of the dancers at the tunnel. My ex-wife.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So the 3 girls in the tunnel.
Right.
In the cages.
Right.
Yeah.
I met your ex-wife before.
Oh,
I met her
for
at
sure.
the event. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got Palladium. Palladium was crazy. I lost my fake ID in Palladium. I was heated. Not like I really needed. I needed it when I traveled. I didn't need it here because I knew everybody.
Right.
But
yo, you remember when you used to be able to go to like the islands? You used to be able to leave the continent without a passport.
Oh yeah.
With your ID, your birth certificate or whatever like
I
that.
used to get on an airplane with a ticket that didn't have a name on it.
Right.
You could just give somebody a ticket.
Right. And they could just get on the airplane. Right. Yeah,
You could transfer a paper airlines ticket.
That pre 9/11 life was a crazy life.
Yeah. We think about it now, but was that crazy, or was so much fear instilled into everybody now, and like
that this is crazy.
That this is crazy.
Right.
I feel like that was cool.
Right.
I feel like this shit is nuts.
This shit is nuts.
Yeah.
This shit is nuts. So during all this, you still living out in Long Island?
No.
I
I moved to 141st in Riverside in like, I want to say winter or like end of 92 or beginning of 93.
Mm-hmm.
But I was living in a closet converted into a bedroom.
Right.
Living on an intern's wage. I was
Right.
working at Kinko's overnight on 52nd Street.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
At 52nd and the West Side?
It was 52nd. It was like between 5th and 6th.
5th and 6th, yeah. I know that Kinko's
Yeah.
because I used to work at the Society for Ethical Culture on 64th and Central Park West. I used to get shit done at that Kinko's.
So I was the overnight manager there in like end of 92 to like 94-ish when I got the job when I got hired as the actual national radio director.
Right.
Yeah.
During all this time, what's your family life like? What's your life like? I know you had a son.
Yep. So I had a son. So wow, shit. I was working at Paragon and was told.
Love Paragon.
And I had to go on leave because my younger son was being born back in Cali. Because I found out my ex-girl got pregnant.
Right.
And the motherfuckers used to steal so much low out of Paragon. I got fired and I wasn't even there. They were like, yeah, we have to let you go.
Bro.
All this shit got
Paragon
stolen.
had the shit.
I was like, bro, I wasn't even there.
Right.
Oh, I was so much stuff I took from there that I was like, I wish I still had. I had this golf pullover. Oh, man.
The Woolriches, yo.
Oh, bro, they used to have so
Paragon
much.
was this shit.
And it was low key, because if you
Right.
really didn't know, like everybody was still going to Macy's and all that shit, but
Right.
Paragon would have all the golf.
See, so we went to Brooklyn Tech, the high school is
Yep.
right over here in Fort Greene. And so, like, a lot of, and I mean, Kai, you could chime in, but for me at least, a lot of the like boutiques and shops in the Village and in Manhattan, I learned about it through my friends at Tech. Like, cause I came from Bed-Stuy, right? Like, I don't know none of
knew
this
Albee
shit.
Square Mall?
I knew Albee Square Mall, right?
Right.
But people start pulling me onto Antique Boutique,
On 8th Street.
right on 8th Street, the Village, and then Paragon, Tents and Trails.
Tenton Trail with the Vasquez.
Yeah, with the Vasquez, right. And so it was it was like a new thing for me, and I'm from here. So I can imagine you being from Cali and coming over here and kind of just being, introduced to this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. It was great. 'Cause I was always a style dude. That's how I became the style editor. I didn't go to school for any of that. It was just I knew how to dress.
Right. So tell me about that work. What does a style editor do?
So I basically did flavors of the month.
Okay.
I did flavors of the month. I did In the Hood. I did anything that was a feature of product, not on a person. So that was the fashion editor. Like I just saw Allen Houston at a funeral. I walked up on him. I ain't seen him since. I was like, bro, weren't you in the Source magazine before? He was like, hell yeah, man. I was in there with my car and all this. I was like, yo, I did that story. It was like the first time I had seen him. So I would do all that kind of stuff, man. It was like, that one was like Shaq and Sheed and GP and Allen Houston and I keep forgetting the fifth person. I don't remember the fifth person. But it was stuff like that. Technology, like, so that's why I would have all the new technology, all the new two-ways. I used to get everybody at the office two-ways and,
Right.
That kind of vibe.
Right. Now tell me how this changes, right? So now you leave the Source, it's 2000.
Yep.
What does Mike do now?
I started my own magazine called LTD. So LTD Magazine was a limited edition publication that focused on streetwear. It was like when all the kind of new boutique shops were opening, and Supreme, and like they started doing their SB collabs, and all that kind of vibe was happening. And you know, I had a lot of friends that were designers, and the big gripe was always, that advertisement, man, that dude looks terrible, that chick looks horrible in my clothes, I wouldn't have did that. And I was like, they put so much into the design of these products. We were like, why don't we just feature the products on their own without models?
Without models, just lay them out.
Yeah, and those would be the ads. So we actually would shoot the products ourselves, lay them out, and that would become the ad. So people would pay for that. Brands, Nike or Puma or Visu or whoever it was would pay for that. And so it was a seamless publication that was ad-free or traditional ad-free, right? And it read, like I got the idea from like, it was a mix of Japanese magazines and me. We were gonna do a biannual fashion style guide for the source, and just came out of a bunch of the research, and I just kind of like kept it going and did it on my own.
How long did that rock?
So I actually only did a couple of issues at first. Got into a really bad deal with this billionaire dude, and then ended up starting an agency with some friends. We did that. Got a big deal with Mountain Dew. So like those bottles that you see at the bar, those Mountain Dew joints, the hard ones. Yeah. So we did all of that whole project. It was called Green Label Art.
Okay.
And so we were responsible for the website and getting all the artists to design the bottles and all the events and everything else, and I kind of led that.
What part of you being in the cannabis space allowed you to understand how to even do some of this shit? Because I'm not thinking at 27 to do this. Like, I don't have the wherewithal to do it. Now, you happen to have been working at the source on various levels, so obviously you understand how the thing runs. Yep. But what part of this does cannabis play into it?
So cannabis was just like, it was one of the homies. Like it was, or you could have said it was like my twin, like my brother. It was like, it was there representing me if I wasn't there, but it was always somebody who was just like with me. We were like, might even know we'd be Siamese twins, you know? To a point where when 2012 happened, and legalization in Colorado and Washington happened, mad people started calling me like, bro, you going out there? Like, what are you doing? Like, you gonna start a brand?
Right.
Like, what's happening?
What we doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and there's people, when I started doing Chef for Hire, that thought I moved out there. And I was like, bro, you live around the corner from me.
Right. I didn't move
anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just always there. Like, so, you know, it was a big part of my social life. It was a big part of just who Hawaii Mike was. Like, again, it's synonymous. And it's one of those things, like, so even what you were saying, like, when I was at the source, how did I get into that? Another rest in peace, Joey Trezza. So the production dude at the source was my guy. And he would literally walk me through how they did the production of the magazine. And he would show me the proofs, you know, these big proofs of the magazines, because the magazine would be printed on these big things and then it's cut and then put together, right? And so he would show me how the forms were built, and they'd be in, like, most magazines are built in 12 or 16 page forms, right? So you're not literally printing page 1 and 2.
Right. You're printing the whole 16 and then you're cutting it down.
But even like the center spread is the only one that is 1 and 2. Right? Because then you got the backside,
right.
But that's another, if you turn it this way, that's the spread. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you'd have to do those forms in that way. And so there's only one program that would do that called InDesign. So he would teach me all this. He would show me the loops, and I'd get to see the registration because there's only 4 colors printed, CMYK. Right? Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black.
Right.
And you'd have to, back then, you couldn't digitally print and fix things in different spaces because it was one image. So we would have to learn how to kind of give and take with things. Like, all right, this is gonna be darker up here because we need that to look this way over here, and just do that. So that's how I got to learn. And for me, now I'm not self-taught. I chose to learn when I had the opportunities, when there was teachers around me. You know, and that's how I learned how to do it. And then we ended up at our agency. We created Inked magazine. The tattoo magazine. Yeah. Okay. So I'm the founding editor-in-chief of Inked magazine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we did the first 4 issues. Basically, there's a real estate family, the Fungs, in Chinatown, and you know 82 Mercer, you know that building. On the Broadway side, it's Old Navy and all the other shit down by like Spring and Broome.
Yeah, I know the area.
That whole building, they own that building, a bunch of other shit. And basically, they were like, we want to create a high-end tattoo magazine. And that's what we created.
Right.
We created it. You know? So, and then that was 2006. And then I got into management. I managed DJ Clark Kent. And then we managed Nigel Sylvester, Jonathan Mannion. I managed Sean C. and LV. Mr. Flawless, who's now just Greg Una, the jeweler. And then, you know, I started doing this whole cannabis thing.
Now, what goes into management? Because I think a lot of people don't really understand how important a manager is to any talent.
Yeah. I mean, my job was to help bring their ideas and dreams to life. That's how I looked at it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And, you know, manage their relationships with their sponsors or people paying it, whoever it may be. Like Nigel had Nike and Beats by Dre, and we got him New Era. Actually, we got him Beats by Dre and New Era. He had G-Shock. So with him, it was kind of like managing his whole production. So whether it was him creating content, whether it was negotiating deals, whether it was, dealing with his PR, dealing with product, dealing with just everything, you know? You know, we like to say it's adult babysitting at times.
Right.
He and I used to always joke that we used to be on the phone together every morning. Like, and we talk together more than anybody else we could think of.
How important is it to understand the language of the industry to be a manager, right? Because I feel like there's a language, there's a vernacular, there's norms, there are values, there's there's an entire subculture in the culture
of management.
Correct.
And then, depending upon which industry the talent you're managing is in,
right? There's a
whole
subculture.
Yeah,
right.
There's a whole other language that goes into that.
Correct.
So with him, I had to learn BMX more because I rode BMX as a kid, but I didn't know it as a 40-year-old.
Right.
You know,
right.
And understand where it was and what the culture was like. So I had to listen to him and take his cues. But he was also very anti-traditional BMX because he's from New York. BMX at the time was X Games. You know, so it was big half pipe and big jump tricks and doing backflips, and he's riding the streets.
Right.
Right. No competitions. No anything. But I learned so much from him about trusting your purpose and your path. Like from a little kid, he knew exactly what he wanted to do and where he was going. And when I tell you he would not listen to anybody that would not support his vision.
That's how you gotta be.
It is, and now he's all over the world and fashion shows and like,
right.
Bro, he's got Mercedes now.
And the crazy shit is, I remember when like the Terry Kennedys and like, the skaters
Stevie
and the bikers,
Williams
right? Even Tony Hawk, but he's like our age, right? He's older. But I remember seeing them begin to rise and wondering, well, shit, where's the revenue from? Like, how many people are watching X Games? Like, how many people actually watch these competitions? Again, coming from New York, that's not really hitting in New York, right? But in the nation, there's a space for it. And so it's funny you mentioned that because I always used to wonder what the revenue stream looked like for sponsorships for a biker.
So it depends, right? Like, it depends on your exposure. It depends on how much you're getting out there. And that was
and this is before followers. Like, this is before people could use analytics from social media to validate it.
Yeah, because I think when I started managing him was right when Instagram started.
Right.
Yeah, it was 2011 or 12, I think, when I started managing him. And then, it just started. But it was exposure. It's really with those kinds of things, it's like, how much exposure can I get? And for him, there would be bonuses for like if he was in an advertisement or featured in a magazine or X, Y, and Z. So it was all of those things we were kind of looking for.
Chef for Hire, when does it start?
So the idea, the seed was planted, like I said before, once Colorado and Washington went legal in 2012. We started it as Epic Moments.
That's a very 2012 name. Epic Moments.
Epic Moments.
Right.
And because we thought, like, every time, you had an infused
gonna
meal,
be
you had an
Nah,
epic
you ain't
moment.
lying. You ain't lying.
It was an epic moment.
Right.
And I started it with another young lady and just didn't work out, but I caught the bug and just started getting down and figuring it out. and learned how to make confection. I mean, we started with Rice Krispie treats and cookies and brownies and all that.
That's everybody. So stuff. For me, right, so the Fruity Pebble treats, the rice, that was my introduction to edibles and like brownies and shit, right? Right.
Yeah. So we were doing that, and then everybody's like, yo, can you make gummies? And bro, when I tell you, I spent so many hours figuring this out.
Figuring out the gummy shit.
Burning myself, ruining product, gelatin, all like, bro, it's a lot. But I figured it out and got it to a shelf-stable product and understood the science of it and, again, all the terminology and what it means and why it's working. And it's a lot.
This was a labor of love, though.
Oh, bro, this is my alchemy.
Right. Right. This is your alchemy.
This is my alchemy.
So this was your moment. This was your ability. This was your moment to kind of use your abilities. Everything that was setting you up for this moment.
Yep.
All of the relationships, all of the memories, all of the work in cannabis, even when you didn't realize you was working in cannabis.
Yep. Planting those seeds.
To now, you are transcending what is normal in terms of selling weed, and you move into the space where you're actually cooking and making infused. I remember the first time I had it infused, somebody had given me some infused olive oil. And I remember being so amazed at the fact that every time I use this olive oil, I get high as fuck.
Yep.
And not really understanding, because I cook, but not really understanding how you cook this weed and it becomes the thing. So I gather you did a lot of research and development.
Yep, a lot.
Yeah,
right? Those 10,000 hours.
Yeah,
probably a few more.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but it was a passion. It was a love, and we did this way before. They were only talking about the medical program in New York.
Right. Don't. This is way before anything
it
about
wasn't even close.
Yeah, it wasn't even close to that shit. Right.
And so think about it. Like, I'm developing a company to launch here when it goes adult.
Mm-hmm.
Not to go
so
anywhere
you're already
else.
right. You already have foresight. You're already like, look, I'm doing this because at some point this is going to happen in New York.
Yeah. So when I really did that was when we started the rumblings of adult use. Then I was really like, oh shit, wait a second. I started doing the history. The history repeats itself. So alcohol prohibition was turned to 37 states. New York was the 33rd state to go medical. Alcohol was led by women. New York's adult use was led by women. And then New York ends up mirroring the alcohol industry by creating a two-tier process, which is basically means, so you can't have a Jack Daniel's store.
Right.
So same. Here, if you're a retailer, you can't be on the manufacturing side and vice versa.
Right.
Oh shit, that looks like alcohol also. And then I was like, well, New York's the capital of the world, right? And we're the capital of music, business, finance, fashion, style, and food. Why not create, the 22 immutable laws of marketing say, be first. If you can't be first, create your own category. So we want to be the first culinary brand in cannabis. And that's what Chef for Hire is here. So the first olive oil, the first coconut oil, the first honey to be in the market. And still right now, the only ones.
To this day.
Right now. So it was patience, it was trust. Like that's past 4 years I've been cultivating patience. And there's this quote, the excitement is in the patience. And I think, all the things aforementioned, like you were saying, like led up to this. And that's what gives me the trust that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely. I can vouch for that. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So I just want to get in the weeds with this a minute because
literally.
Yeah, in the weeds, right? Pun intended. Because I come out of the restaurant and nightlife industry, so I understand a bit about restaurant accounting. And I know the Chef for Hire brand. I remember I bought some lemonade from you guys July 4th. Like, you guys did very well. I'm going to tell you what you did well in the early days. You did very well at being thematic. So, like, in July, you would have, like, the July 4th special. And you can get a lemonade and you can get cheeseburgers, right? And you were very consistent in that. But there was also rules. And you were very explicit, or whoever was writing your emails at the time was very explicit about the rules, and it made it feel exclusive. And you wanted a customer of Chef for Hire wanted to be exclusive and wanted to like. I wouldn't share that email address unless I knew that the person like was worthy of it. You know what I'm saying?
We used to say, don't invite anybody you wouldn't leave in your house alone.
Exactly. So tell me about that time, like building this business, the exclusivity, but also the work, right? That comes, the dollar, at the end of the day, like, were you getting to the bag with this thing?
Then, yeah. Like, it's much more difficult right now.
Right,
Yeah,
because you
it's
got
so much noise. Not even that. It's just that after legalization here, everybody has weed. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's cooking. Everybody's doing this. So that's why I had to move on to the next thing, which is the product side.
Right.
And being the first in the market.
Right.
But back then, we had to move locations every month. It was in a different location, right? So people were paying. We started at $75. In a couple of years, we got to $150.
$150,
right?
$150, yeah.
And people were paying $150 in advance, not knowing the location till the day of.
Facts. Right.
Not knowing who was going to be there till they stepped into the location.
Stepped in the door, right.
And not knowing what they were eating till they sat at the table.
Yeah, but you made it like that. You made it to, it was like a clandestine story. Like, we wanted that.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of this thing that's like super exclusive. It's like Eyes Wide Shut almost. It's like, yo, I'm a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to know what exists once I get there. And the funny thing is, when I came there for the Father's Day joint, it was like 3 people that I knew there.
Yeah.
So it was that type of energy as well.
And if you didn't know them, there was always people that didn't know each other that left friends.
Exactly.
There's couples that have been had. There's been parents and children. There's been everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting you say that because I've been trying to figure out how to reinvigorate that feeling again. It's been tough. There's so much noise, there's so much distraction.
I think you got to go back to being ultra exclusive. Because exclusivity, especially in New York City, is a premium. Like, people will play for exclusivity. Like, I'll go to a spot and I'll pay the extra to get to the spot knowing that it's curated for people like me.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying.
Yep. Now, we're working on that with Fly Private, but it's a whole thing. But it was beautiful, bro. Like, really, because there wasn't a lot of people doing it.
Right.
You know, and it was so underground, and it was learning because we were changing every single menu. So each time I did it, it was like practice, right? But you're in the game because it's real. So it was a great time, man. I love it.
Did you ever get static? Did like cops or anybody? Did you ever have to like deal with static?
Luckily, no.
Right.
Luckily, nah.
Right.
We moved quietly. Nobody again wanted to fuck it up to a point where it was almost too tight. Right? Like, there was people that like wouldn't tell their family. Facts. Right. And I'm like, bruh, like, it's not like that. Your family lives with you. They're good. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just a beautiful time because, you know, when you're in the beginning and you're pioneering something, right? Just like I can imagine, like, I had the same feeling in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Watching hip hop grow. Like, me telling people that Mobb Deep was doing spot dates and nothing was sexy. People like, what do you mean? Like, Mobb Deep? Nah, that must have been incredible. You must have been on the ill because they're thinking about Drake on tour now. Correct. And shit like that. Right. I'm like, nah, bro. We were stealing steak knives from fucking spots because we had no weapons and we're going to other people's hoods. Right. And every time Shook Ones came on, there was a fight.
Right.
Like, every single time Shook Ones came on, it was a melee. So, you know, there's just certain points in time, and again, I think that's why for me the spirituality, the awareness, the mindfulness, being present allows me to really appreciate, have gratitude for all of that. And that's why I feel like I lived so many lifetimes, man. I got stories for days and all types of people, and it's been great.
How do you feel about the MRTA and cannabis legalization in New York?
That's a tough one.
That's why I say
I think this whole program, man, it could have been done so much better, and we had the opportunity to do it. We had a lot of information to do it. The issue, I think, is that politics is a system that works for the greater system, but doesn't necessarily work for creation, right? It's an anomaly in a sense, man. Because there's so much bureaucracy, there's so much ego, there's so much personal ego and want and desire and motivation tied to politics that it's so situational and topical, moment to moment. Like, you know, that's why they say they're two-faced all the time. It's because they have to say the right thing in the moment. And then go back.
They feel like they have to say the right thing.
And then have to go back and then fix this or that and then retract, and then, you know, you can't be authentic in politics.
I feel like bureaucracy is such that even in its purest definition, things have to be made wrong in order to be made right.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying when people say the system is broken, it's not broken.
Right. That's the design.
That's the design.
Right.
It's not designed for us.
Right.
You know, again, you go back to Egypt, go back to Rome. Those systems were very similar still. The hierarchies, you got your 1% at the top, your kings, and you know what I'm saying? You go all the way down, you got your serfs.
Right. Because the writer of the MRTA, the writer is Chris Alexander, who I know, the legislators of the MRTA.
You definitely know. Some know,
I know, right? They're definitely not the people that were hustlers.
Nope.
Right? They're not weed men. They don't understand the bottom of the market. They don't understand the breadth of the market.
Well, even worse, to me, is they didn't take into account the consumer's experience.
Absolutely not, because they're not consumers by and large.
And that's a huge issue, right? And I think that's why we got caught up with all of these illegal shops. So we're New York, like I said before, the capital of the world. What comes with that, being a consumer in New York, is access. We have access to everything, not just deals. We have access. You want a gun? What caliber? What caliber you want?
What do you need?
You want some rocket launchers? You want a hand
What do you
grenades?
need? I can bring it to your block tonight.
I got you.
Right.
You want silencers? You want this, that? You want a husband or wife? What ethnicity? Right? Like, you have access to everything. Imagine telling a wine connoisseur in New York, you can only buy wine that's grown in New York now, and you can only go to these stores to get it.
It doesn't make any sense. Not from a consumer
It
standpoint.
would never. You know how many shops would pop up?
Right.
Selling wine from Napa Valley and Sonoma and Italy and France, and come on.
Bodegas are designed to do that. Bodegas have always been the black market of the community.
Of everything.
We used to call them honey holes. Like, you used to go to bodegas and get liquor on Sundays.
Oh, for sure.
You could buy Bacardi. You could buy,
sure.
You know what I'm saying, Seagrams.
You could go to certain restaurants and bodegas and get guns.
And get guns, right.
Like,
so bodegas have always represented the black market. These are the same bodegas, Mike, that was selling K2 just prior to the legalization.
And fentanyl laced shit and all kinds of shit.
Just prior to regular brick and mortar bodegas that was selling this. So to not be able to forecast that these bodegas is going to change up and start selling weed is crazy. But even what was crazier was to see it happen in real time. To see bodegas that on Monday you was getting chopped cheese from them, and on Wednesday they had a new awning and they had packs, loud packs in the thing.
And no ability to enforce.
Right.
No law. Nothing that regulated law enforcement.
Even now with enforcement, because I've spoken to the Sheriff Miranda, who's a good dude, and the New York Sheriff's Department is looking to enforce, but right now there's I think the number is 1,800 illegal smoke shops.
Easy.
Sheriff Miranda doesn't have enough people to do it.
I did the math on that, right? I did the math before, and when they were like, oh, we're going to shut these down easy, I was like, bro, it takes y'all how many hours? Right. Just to get the paperwork, to get going, go outside, collect yourself, then go do that. That's what, 6 hours, 8 hours, maybe? Right? How many can you really do? And then you got to set them up. So you start doing the math on 18,000 times 6 hours or 4 hours.
It's going to take you years
That's what I'm saying.
to close them all down. And as you go...
But that's 24 hours a day.
Right. Right. It's impossible. Because as you continue down the line, these cats is reopening. They're opening back up.
Yeah.
And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that California was upside down. And by upside down, I meant that the gray market is overtaking the legal market.
Yep. So basically what happened in California is all the legal people became illegal drug dealers.
Right. Right.
So they spent hundreds of $millions to go into the illicit market.
Mm-hmm.
So I've said, and people got mad at me for saying this, but I'm a New York brand, so I want us to win. But New York won't work until we have access to weed from everywhere. It just won't work. Not completely. I think there's going to be a bunch of dispensaries and brands that are going to make a lot of money, but I don't think it's going to work the way they think it's going to work. And the other part is taxes. Like, taxation is like, why are you overtaxing this? If you want to mirror the alcohol industry on taxes also.
Right.
Like, why are you overtaxing this because you think
where's the taxes at now for products in New York? 13%?
It depends on the municipality, but I think that is the actual consumer tax. But then there's also a THC tax that we got hit with, which makes the prices go up. Right? So there's a 3 cents per milligram tax. So our 100 milligram bags of gummies, there's a $3 tax on it.
Shit.
That gets pushed to the retailer. That gets pushed to the consumer. Right? There's a $7.20 tax on our olive oil, coconut oil, honey. Crazy.
That's crazy.
Right? And that's a product that
that's on your end.
That's on our end.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. Like it's what doesn't make sense is how do you project this tax revenue, but you restrict our opportunity to sell something at a good
we don't
price.
have the opportunity. You're not opening up things fast enough so that we could even sell this product.
But even if you did, how can you scale a company with taxes like that when you don't have any 280E write-offs? State, we got waived on 280E, but if you're cannabis touching, if you have a car license or manufacturer license, you got no federal write-offs. Like, you're stuck.
Right.
So how?
Right.
How?
Right.
So for me, and I believe people are intelligent enough, right, to at least do homework. There's enough data out there to understand how all the other states work and who's failing.
Right.
Why they're failing.
Right.
And then who's not. So I still think that it's the same kind of systematic oppression that this country creates, right? Because the heavily funded MSO companies, they're not looking to make money in 10, 20 years. They're just looking to bleed us out.
Right.
So they can have all.
So they can have it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that to me.
And that's probably why it really behooves people to just stay illegal. And that's probably the issue in California. Because at the end of the day, it's like, look, if I stay illegal 1 year, 2 years, I can make money. If they close me down, fuck it, I just find another spot.
Well, the majority, I'll say probably at this point, of the distribution companies in Cali are creating ghost distributions, or there's ghost distributions.
Like white labeling it.
Basically, well, it's like sending stuff into the ether through different distribution channels that go nowhere, and then those packs end up going to other states or out of the country.
Right.
Like Europe is huge right now.
With import.
Yeah.
Damn,
you know?
That's crazy.
Right? But if you think about it, that's all money that could be made on export.
Right.
But they didn't create an export law here.
They didn't even create an export law.
They won't allow us to.
That's what I'm saying. The shit is designed to not work for us to be able to uplift the problems and then work on the problems one at a time.
Because they don't want us. They want to hire us. They don't want to allow us to have our own companies. You allow us to have our own companies and compete on the same playing field, they're never going to win.
Right.
Authenticity wins all the time. We move at a different frequency.
Right.
We're here for the plant. Like, they're here for the money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with hip hop. We're here for the culture. They're here to just the business.
Right. So how is Chef for Hire Products doing in New York right now?
I mean, it's a slow grind because we created a new category. Nobody has anything to compare us to. We're the ones, right? So it's a gift and a curse. You You know, we're there first, but now our job is to create the awareness and get people to understand why they need this, right? Like, you know, smokers are like, why am I going to eat edibles? Well, bro, you smoke all the time. Honey is great for your throat, for immunity is great for it's prebiotic, great for digestion. It's antimicrobial, antifungal. It helps clean out your, like, why wouldn't you use that after smoking?
Right.
And you get high from it.
And you get high.
Coconut oil.
Right.
Right? We smoke all the time. But coconut oil pulling helps with your teeth, your gums, freshens you up.
And you get high.
And you get high. And you
Right.
get high.
So
Right.
for me, I'm a runner, so I don't even want to smoke anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the lungs, it's the whole thing. I'd much rather edibles.
Right.
I'd much rather that lifestyle.
Or even olive oil. Olive oil is great for your brain
Right.
health. They say
Right.
weed burns your brain cells, so why not do something that helps with your brain health and your skin and your hair, right? So that's the whole thing, is just the education, right? People are looking for what they're used to. Now we got to educate them on the fact that, one, smoking isn't something we have to do. It's not natural to our bodies. It's actually detrimental, even though it's something we like, and it's good for us still. I'm not saying I'm not smoking. Don't take it like that.
Right.
I'm always going to smoke.
Right, but this is being pragmatic.
It's just
right.
what it is.
I've
right?
dealt with that, yeah.
And then sugar is the most addictive drug on the planet.
Fact.
And it's the only drug classified as a food. But if you go to a dispensary right now, besides our products, everything else is either smokables or sugar. I think there's a water, I think there's a couple other things, but for the most part, that's what it is. You know? And if we have this relationship and it takes care of our body and wants to create balance, I believe, what we believe at Chef for Hire, it's the most seamless and healthiest way to introduce cannabinoids into your system is through your diet. Right? You eat every day.
Right.
And everybody has extra virgin olive oil in their house.
Right.
If you've eaten today, you've most likely eaten extra virgin olive oil.
Right.
It's that universal.
And it's the healthiest way to get the cannabinoids into your body.
Yeah,
It's
but that's what I'm
the-
saying. So even like, you go to your bodega and they be like, oil and vinegar.
Right.
What oil do you think they're using?
Right.
Right? So why couldn't that just be infused oil?
Right. On your hero. Now you
On
good.
the hero. Now you good. Right? So it's trying to just get people, again, our mission is to normalize the use of cannabinoids as an essential for optimal human health and holistic well-being. Right? Overall. Like, have an intentional relationship with this plant and see what it does for you.
Do you talk to the OCM? Do you like we just had an OCM meeting at Restoration Town Hall, packed. A lot of people came with a lot of concerns. Do you interface with the OCM at all?
I have, for sure, a lot more in the beginning. I'll run into Chris at like openings and things of that nature. We'll chop it up there.
Tremaine.
I haven't seen
Fortune.
Tremaine. I haven't seen Tremaine in a long time.
Right.
Like, it's Chris that's out. I don't really
Right.
see it. Damien was my guy too, but
Damien,
he's on pause right now. So, but
I
it's,
spoke to a brother today, Serrano. I can't think of his first name. Brother's name is something Serrano, but we're working on doing something else at Restoration because for me, like, and I got this. This is not mine. This is from my brother Floyd Jarvis. You know who Floyd is? Ganja War Veterans.
Okay.
Right. So he created a hashtag Keep Black Markets Black. Right. So for me, what I want to do is ensure that the educational process exists in our communities. So that brothers that want to get into because when the MRTA dropped, every weed seller in Brooklyn really wants in, but the fact of the matter is these Yemeni smoke shops begin to usurp the dollar from your weed man. That's right on your block. Right. So it actually worked to the detriment of the legacy dealer. So now what we want to do is ensure that the legacy dealer is included in this work. And the only way we're going to include them is if the discussion takes place in their backyard. You can't have the discussion in Manhattan or in Albany or in the Bronx. They need to be a part of it.
I would love to be part of those conversations because the pathway to this isn't the pathway that they tell you. How am I in the market right now?
Right.
Why is everybody else on their feet? I mean, on they sitting down, waiting.
Right.
Why is everybody on the sidelines?
But
right
you've
now?
been moving.
Yeah, but why? Well, how's every other brand in the market right now? Nobody. When I did my talk on the Revel, I asked people. I was like, well, "How many people want to be in the industry?" Everybody raised their hands.
Raised their hand.
Right? How many people know somebody who's raised $1.5 million?
Right.
98% of people put their hands down.
Right.
All right, now how many people have raised $1 million themselves? Everybody put
Everybody
their hands down. So how much money do you think you need to get in this industry with a license? Especially if you think you're staying in New York City.
Right. You got to raise that capital.
You got, where are you getting that from?
Right.
Right? The other part, right? So if you think about every brand that's in the market right now, unless they are a brand of one of the manufacturers, how'd they get in? They don't have a license. The OCM didn't tell nobody how to get in.
Not at all.
Right?
You're right. How many dispensaries exist in the city now? Maybe 3, 4?
We got to stay on, because that topic, bro, is like telling people the pathway to get into this is important. Because I don't want to see all the people lose the shirts, especially if we're in the hood.
Right.
Right? And so either you got to get together with a collective, a cooperative, and do a cooperative license together.
Right.
Or you got to figure out a partner you can work with that has a license already and get a tier 3 processor license, and then you can create your own brand. The reason that's better to me is because, one, you don't take all of the risk. You don't have all of the upfront risks with the license, the insurance, with the real estate, with the equipment, with the electricity, with the staff. Keep going. And now you lost all your 280E rights. Because as soon as your plant touching, you're done. Tier 3 license, which they popped up out of nowhere, which is basically what we do, is we license our IP.
You were telling me that.
Yeah.
Right. You were explaining that to me.
If I was going to get in any other industry, skincare, healthcare, food, I want to make a spaghetti sauce.
Right.
I'm going to get my recipe down. I'm going to have my SOP, my statement of procedures, right? It's going to outline how to make this from zero all the way to finished product. Right? We're going to go to a co-packer. They're going to check it out. We're going to get it approved. Or you might have to go to a university and get a whole, I forget what the thing is called, but that whole process. And then you're going to work out and negotiate a deal. What's your percentage of net sales? That's what we did. That's what every brand that is in the market right now has done. And that's
so you license your IP to a company that has a license, and then they, in turn, take your prop, like it's spaghetti sauce, so it's like ragu in a supermarket.
Yeah. It's like Pepsi used to be.
And you never sell yourself.
No. Not right this second, I don't, just because I don't have the tier 3 license yet.
Right.
Once I have the tier 3, then I can actually move the product.
Right.
But I'm still not cannabis touching because it's basically under packaging and marketing. Right?
Right.
So basically we buy our own packaging, all of our product on that side, our ingredients, send it, they make it.
That's almost like private labeling, right?
It's 100% private labeling.
Yeah,
It's private labeling, co-packing, white labeling.
Right.
There's a bunch of different terminology for it, depending on what industry you're talking to, right?
Industry, right?
But now let's think about this. If that's the path, and that's what all of the multi-state brands did, how come the OCM never said nothing about that in the beginning?
Right.
How come they never suggested that?
I don't think they really even thought about that.
Yes, they did.
You think so?
If they didn't, that means they never listened to me. I've spoke to all of them, like.
But going back to what you're saying, like the people that are in those positions, they don't know. They're not.
No, but that part they know. They know. Trust me, they know that part because they came up with a tier 3 license. That's what that tier 3 processor license.
But was the tier 3 license part of the original thing? Didn't the tier 3 license come up after the fact?
Yep.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I think that was all strategy.
You think it was strategy?
Yeah. There's a bunch of shit, bro. I told you before, bro. So I had a dispensary tell us they threatened us to take us off the shelves because we're still legacy. And I'm like, bro, I've pointed out probably 5 brands in their store.
That a legacy.
Huh? No, that are sold in the illegal smoke shops still.
Right.
And I said, until you take all of them off the shelves, don't talk to me. Don't even look my direction. Don't even think of looking my direction about it. Because we're part of the reason this whole program is supposed to be created. It's supposed to help us get into the industry.
Right.
Not perpetuate dual sales over here and there and that and third.
Right.
Like, you really want to see the illegal smoke shops kind of stop and slow down? pull all that product that's
pull
on
that
those
product.
shelves out of the dispensaries.
Right.
And watch them go all those shops and start pulling their product. Because it's better for them to be in these legal stores now than it is to be in those other ones.
I wanted you to explain that, and I know we ain't got much time. It's already 8:30, but I wanted you to explain that to me because you was telling me how certain illegal shops have like certain, and then there's shops, and I was driving through Manhattan and thinking about what you was telling me, and I was seeing certain spots that really look like they have like people who are licensed, they have their shit, versus cats on Notion and Fulton that
the
you know
bodega.
they got illicit grow house shit.
Yeah, and that's why even when the officials and the regulators and legislators are talking about, oh, we got to get all this unlicensed product out of the market, a lot of the bigger ones are getting real shit.
They're getting real shit. They don't have unlicensed shit.
It's all tested. It's all real. It's all this. It's just from another state.
Right.
So instead of them going, shit, we need to have this bigger federal conversation, start pushing for that, they're trying to go after the small things that's not going to work. It's New York. Even if all the bodegas shut down, people are still going to have that access until you change the taxes.
Right. Because them grow houses is still going to come up with crop.
Well, the grow houses are in Cali or in other states.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But even those, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's always going to be that. There's quote unquote illegal farmers, right? That are growing shit and crops and selling it to their peoples.
Right.
It's just how shit works. You have to do that in a restrictive system.
There's even growers in New York that are dealing with that because you're growing. You have a crop. What the fuck you gonna do with the crop?
Oh, well, that part, that's the legal side, yeah.
But even if you don't, like, the legal is not moving fast enough.
Well, that's because legal's only outdoor, one, so it restricts the quality, right? And again, it's only weed grown in New York. I want my Sonoma, I want my...
Right,
I'm a wine connoisseur, bro.
Right.
Like, it's the same
right.
thing.
You cannot delineate the fact that, like, in New York, you're not going to grow the shit that people are going to want, the variety.
No, I don't believe
people
that.
want.
It's not just that. It's again, just like wines, different regions create a different taste. There's different
variety is the spice of life.
It's varietals. It's
Right.
all of that. We want that because that's what we're used to. Give me what I'm used to, and also remember, I get deals everywhere. It's New York. Right? Just like you the other week, man, bro. My man had that other two. I was just with him. But you're my man, though. I want to get it from you. So just give me the same product.
Right.
It's the same shit.
It's the same shit.
And that's also the medicinal side of marijuana. Like, people ingest it for all different reasons
Oh,
to
100%.
make them feel all different ways
Yep.
in different places.
Yep. Even if you're
produce
not,
a different-
even if you're not consuming with the intentional mindset that this is healing for me, and this is therapeutic for me, this is beneficial for me in a medicinal way, it still provides that for you.
Right.
Turn on the awareness, put in the intentions, it does something completely different for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it speaks to us if you listen.
Right.
Right? When people always tell me, oh my God, I can't smoke, I get anxiety or I get a this or that. I'm like, smoke a little bit less. When that pops up, write down whatever's popping up. That's all shit you gotta work on.
Yeah, me and my friends always say you gotta find your right prescription, quote unquote.
But part of it is you also have to listen. It's
Right.
telling you
It's
something.
telling you
Right.
where the imbalance is.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's telling you.
Right.
And you have to
And that's so bug, bro, because I remember being younger and blowing trees and being good, and then having friends that'll blow a tree and have like a paranoid situation, or they crying, and it's like, well, why is it reacting? But what you're saying is everything. Like, because
it brings these things up to the surface because it's like your internal environment is off balance. Your mental state isn't there, right? You're worried about this, you're anxious about that, you ask the person, you start talking to them, they'll probably bring up some shit.
they'll bring it up.
Yeah. But then they don't want to face it. And then there's like, well, I can't, like, it's trying to help you. Like, but you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, right? So same thing.
Kyle, what's up? What we got there? Because we could go on. I could talk to Mike for another hour. I know we done already passed the
A lot of
time.
people checked in, like, oh, Tony was like, oh, I remember Mike from the Source days. Then Visa was came through. She
Who?
said, "What's up,
Oh,
Temisa?"
Temisa, yeah.
Oh man, come on, man. That's Gavin.
Yeah, right.
That's
She
Yeah.
said,
that's
"What's
Gavin
up?"
Shout out
way
to
back
Temisa,
then.
right.
So her
Oh,
ex-husband.
Mess from Brooklyn
One
here.
of my best friends.
First time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
From then.
Right, from back then.
From like
Oh, okay.
13, 14 years old.
Wow.
Mess from Brooklyn here. First time caller, long time listener.
Mess?
Mess. Yeah, he's not in
Come
the
on,
building
man.
today. What would he suggest for us long distance runners?
Long distance runners?
Yeah.
So there's actually an IG called Rage and Release, I think it is, right? But it's really dependent upon you. So I have some people that are like, they like to actually smoke and then run, right? Because they think it strengthens their lungs. There's other people that are like, I can't smoke, right? So depending upon the distance, I've heard people will take an edible at a certain point, and so it helps with recovery, right? And also with a longer distance, the more you take your mind off of what you're doing and just go into another zone, you just find that and you just keep going. So it takes practice, right? And I think this is with anything, but especially with cannabis, it is a individual journey.
It is.
Right? We can all smoke the same strain, take the same
have
edible,
snowflake
and have a
reaction.
completely
Right.
different, right? And so it's finding what is best for you as a person, right? The biggest thing that I try to help people say, will help people do is take away all the projections of everybody else. Like block all that shit out, let it all go, let it pass through you, because everybody's gonna have an opinion. Everybody's gonna tell you, nah, I do it this way, nah, I do it that way. I'm gonna say, try it as many different ways as you want to figure out what works best for you. And it might be a combination of a few things, right? So it's really that. Like, just keep trying. Like, just keep checking it out. If you don't like smoking, try an edible. If you don't like sugar, try something that's not that. Right? Maybe it's taking, a couple of sips of olive oil before you hit a run that are infused.
Right. Maybe it's a tea with the honey.
Maybe it's a tea with the honey, right? Maybe it's a, an edible that has enough sugar to get you going but doesn't put you to a crash, right? Maybe it's something that's mixed with protein. I mean, it's so many ways. Like, I don't know that person's routine. Like, I don't know what.
It's Jason, actually. He said he knows y'all know each other. Told Jason.
I'm sure you pitch after.
Okay.
What we got?
That's good information. That was it. That was the only question. I had a question though while he was talking.
Yo, I'm gonna plug you with the brother Serrano that I spoke with today. The next time we bring the OCM to Bedford-Stuyvesant, I need you there.
Oh, for sure.
Anybody else have questions?
I mean, I got the relationship with them.
Oh, where can we find the products? Like, where is your stuff?
Most of the legal dispensaries in New York.
Okay.
Especially in the city.
What's the name?
Conbud.
Yeah, shout to Combo.
Dazed in Union Square.
No, your product.
Oh, our products? Oh, Chef for Hire is the
Chef for
brand.
Hire, right,
Yeah,
okay.
Chef for Hire is the brand. But yeah, depending on what borough you're in, I mean, Travel Agency, downtown Brooklyn, BK Exotics, Good Grades, Silk Road in Jamaica, Turk Bros, Canavita, Urban Weeds in Queens, and NYC Buds in LIC, Trends in LIC.
Wow.
No, it's a bunch. Bliss and Lex.
I stopped by the travel agency. It's on Flatbush Avenue in Park
No, it's
Slope.
right next to.
Babeland.
Huh?
It's on the same block over there by it's across from the mall.
Bro, what's the address?
It's off of Flatbush.
What's the address?
It's near 560 State Street.
Exactly. They don't even know that.
Yeah, it's near 560.
They don't even know. It's next door.
Yeah, it's right next door to
door.
560. Yeah.
A black-owned one in Brooklyn.
Huh?
There's one.
Mattawanna. Yeah, we're in Mattawanna also on
Mattawanna.
14th and 5th, I think. 14th Street and 5th Ave, in the South Slope.
Any plans for a cookbook?
Good question.
Bro, I started the cookbook and I just haven't finished it. I'm helping somebody else with the cookbook right now.
What?
Bro, you need to finish that.
That's right now. I honestly, my time to sit is just crazy, and I have the whole. Like, I basically have the whole format because we've done. I mean, we did 54 months in a row of our supper club.
Right.
I got
tons of fucking
I
recipes.
saw Marlon like 5 days after that. So
And I was still talking about that shit, right?
You were still high.
I was still high. Yo, I'm telling you. Yo, I had to pull over. I was on the FDR Drive. I said, I got to get the fuck off. I got off at 23rd Street.
Avenue. Y'all remember that? He was like walking like, he was like literally like.
Nigga, that shit.
On another
But
time.
it was such a good time. And the thing about it, Kai, is the food was good.
Yes.
Like, the food was good.
But
that's where you
to
get
me,
messed up when that.
To me, the bigger point though is a lot of the times when we say we're that high, we get scared. We
Right.
curl
Oh, yeah,
up.
no, I'm good.
Scared.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I was good.
And that's the majority of people. They'll be like, "Yo, I was high for so long," but they're fine.
Yeah, I was good.
So the same way I say hip hop is the most authentic expression of the modern human experience, I believe that's because of the energy that was outputted in the beginning, right? There was an intention of doing something new, something fresh, something different, right? And that competitive nature that it was in it, it just kept evolving and flourishing, right? So for me, what separates us, I believe, is the intentions. It's the energy. It's the ineffable. It's the things that you can't touch, because the things that you can't touch are the realest. At the end of the day, I can't grab air. Without this shit,
Right, I can't grab water.
we're not here.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Right?
like you can. Yes.
Right.
But you know what everybody cares about? This shit.
Right.
Right? And their cars and their houses. And I'm like, bro, none of that shit is real.
But it's really everything.
Anything that man
that's
put on this
here.
planet ain't real.
Ain't real.
It's
a
not
creation.
permanent.
Right.
Yeah, it's not permanent. It's a temporary fixture on this planet.
Right.
Right? And so for me, those are the things that matter the most. Like, I got other companies that use our same product that are manufactured in the same place. When people take ours, they feel different. I'm like, I didn't even make that though. They made that. They just used our recipe. But what's
But the recipe has the...
it's already built into it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That energy has already been in, because the work we've done, the care we've put into it, the desire for not just wanting to obviously sell products, but to make something that's great, that works, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times in the beginning, our products were used for end-of-life care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Our friends would have, stage 4 cancer, or their parents would have stage 4
Hospice and
cancer.
shit
It's
like
like
that.
hospice times, right? Oh, my mom won't eat. All right, try to give her a gummy. Try to slip this honey in there. And then all of a sudden they're eating and they're chilling. Like one of my mans, his mother was a scientist in like San Diego. Never touched cannabis her whole life. Whole end of her life past end of 6 months. That's all she wanted.
Right. Always asking for the specialty.
Yep. Yeah. Like, I want my gummies. And then he would tell me like, oh, her eyes would light up. She'd be hungry. All of a sudden there was like,
Because it homeostasis.
exactly.
Right.
Right. But plus, I think the intentions is my belief.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I see other products. You taste, you're like, oh, like what is this? Like why? I can't. And to me, that's the energy.
Right.
I don't smoke raw papers because of that. I don't. For some reason, that dude's energy doesn't resonate with me. I don't connect to it. It's really like two magnets that go. You put them on the opposite end.
And that's subtle, but that's real.
But if you think about it, you light fire. That's energy. You light the joint.
Right.
That joint's out. That's energy.
Right.
You smoke it. That's energy. You pass it.
Right.
That's energy. And now you're sharing energy in that cipher.
It just doesn't
He's
work.
non-cipher to me.
Right. It's not exciting. When are you open over at 2 Steps Down? Do you call it 2 Steps Down? What's the
Nah,
name
it's
of it?
Fly Private Social.
Fly Private Social.
Yeah,
When are you open over there?
So Fly Private Social is a celebration of hip hop through food.
Okay.
Thursday to Saturday, 6 to 11. Sundays brunch, 1 to 6, and then hopefully soon we'll be open during
Everything's
the day.
infused.
No, nothing's
No.
infused.
Oh, nothing's infused. in
Nothing's
Fly Private.
infused.
Oh.
Nothing
Oh,
is
shoot.
infused.
I went to TK did an event there. You know Tacumbo?
Tacumbo. You know Tacumbo.
She did an event there before you.
It
guys
was
had
during.
opened.
It was on the
Yeah.
Revel. It was the weekend of
Okay.
On the Revel. You guys
On the
did
Revel,
the.
right.
You guys did the party, the
Yeah,
launch
the
party
launch
for
party,
On the
yeah.
Revel, the host party, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
okay, so none of the
I
food was
think
infused, okay.
myself as Hawaii Mike, and the brand of Chef for Hire, I think is so entrenched in people's minds. You know what I'm saying? That anything I do now, they probably think my clothes are fucking weed at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just think I'm just walking around, I'm just emitting weed, like, throughout the whole...
That nigga's Off-Whites is infused.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everything is like... but no, these are two separate companies.
Right.
I've just found that food is, again, my alchemy and how I express. I've come to understand food as a universal language. Everybody eats, right? Everybody.
Food
eats.
is where culture and community meet. Absolutely. Everybody's gonna sit down and eat, and in that eating, they're gonna fellowship.
Yep. And then if you do that with intention, like our intention of the supper clubs was, if everybody has an endocannabinoid system, we're all one. We're all connected in that way too, right? And so, no matter who you were, where you from, what you were doing, how you got there, you sit at this table, you're family. The intention is for us to all vibrate as one. We eat the same food, the same dishes at the same time, unless you have an allergy that we try to accommodate. And that's it, right? So it became family supper, right?
Right.
Because of
And
our
that was the
intention.
feeling. Yeah, that was a feeling.
Right? And so even with Fly Private, right? Yo, people come in, they're like, bro, the energy in here is so incredible. They're like, yo, has curated this, that, the vibes, yo, the people, yo, it's younger people, it's people my age, I feel good, I'm comfortable. Mad people tell me that.
Yeah.
I don't have that shit written down anywhere.
Yeah.
That's not like a sign. Nobody's given, here, read this before you walk in, this is how you act.
Right.
Nah, that's the intention of the space.
And the authenticity of it. Like, you know how now they love to use that word for marketing and telling you just be authentic. And I've always wondered, like, what? Like, how can I not be, you know, like, why, how are you telling me to, you know, like, why is that a buzzword now?
Because
know?
of they.
Yeah.
It's always they,
Right.
right? It's never us. It's always they.
Yeah, I want to tell you a funny story before we go about the time that I came to the supper club. So when I was there, somebody was there that I grew up with, right?
Okay.
So she was there with her husband. They're now divorced, but at the time they were married. Her husband and me is cool, me and her is cool, right? But we grew up together as kids, right? So this was her first time ever at something like this. She's not somebody who's a smoker, but I think you know him. I'm gonna tell you his name offline. I'm not gonna say it in front of the camera, but I'm pretty sure you know him. He brought his wife. So we sitting at the dinner, and like I said, after like 3 courses, bro, we all gone, right? So our parents, me and the young girl, well, she's not young, but me and the girl, our parents were like tight knit in the 70s and 80s. And our parents used to fuck with cocaine and the whole shit, weed and coke and the whole shit. Is the 70s, right? So she's at the table, she's sitting across from me. Now it's a bunch of people I don't know, and it's me and her and her husband and Daphne. And she starts going in because she's high. So she's like, Marlon, you remember when our parents used to have all the cocaine on the table? And I'm like, yo, chill. I'm like, yo, chill out. Her husband is like, yo, relax. And she's just telling everything. It was so funny, right? And I'm gonna tell you why it's funny, because I don't really care, right? But it was funny because the people around us that didn't know us, it endeared them too. They was like, yo, y'all grew up together. And she was telling the whole shit. Yeah, we grew up together. And our parents was cops. That's the other thing. My pops was a cop. Her pops was a cop. It created such a story where now we had to explain, well, shit, how was your parents cops and they was doing X, Y, and Z, right? Right. But it created such a story. But on the onset, when she started talking, I really wanted to shut her up. And it was because she was lit. Like, she was lit.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience. I want you got to bring that back, bro.
I mean, so I'll say, like, let's get a crew together and bring it back.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
we can talk offline. Yeah, I got the
Come
people.
to it.
Yeah.
Mess asks, how many NF games have you played high?
How many, what games?
NFs.
What's an NF
I
game?
don't know.
I don't know. That's your man.
What's an NF game?
Mess, what's an NF game? NF?
No.
NFS.
NFS?
Oh. I would say probably everyone. So
What's
that
it? The Nike Football
Society.
Oh, you played the Nike Football Society.
Bro, you want to hear a funny story about that
Yeah.
one? First game of the first season, I think it was maybe 4th or 5th play. I'm playing receiver. I push off. Pop!
Knee?
I'm on the ground. I look back at my man Chad. I'm like, bro, did you went in motion? I'm like, bro, did you step on my ankle? Like, what happened?
Nah, that Achilles went. Yeah.
Yo, as soon as. And then I rehabbed it. It was the weirdest thing. That shit didn't hurt at all.
Right.
It was weird.
Right.
I sat and watched the rest of the game, was chilling, eating burgers and shit. Anyway, got back, casted, got healed, did all my recovery, came back at the last game, I think it was of that season, and threw like a 50-yard touchdown.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that shit was funny.
Sounds about right. Yo, this has been an amazing talk, bro. And I want to talk to you offline. We're going to do some stuff.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to rock that.
I feel like Mike won the sneaker wars today.
Yeah, let's see.
I kind of like.
I mean, he got the off-white. I wore the Air Max because, it was matching my
Sean
gray.
said that he probably would beat him too in the sneaker wars.
Yeah, Sean, I want you to be our judge. Like, I know you can't come here every week, Sean, but
he passed through earlier, but I think he agreed that.
yeah, I think Mike won. I mean, it's fine.
I'm not in it because I already won off of these, so.
I still haven't worn those yet.
I got a pair of those. I wore those. One week I thought I was going to win. When we had Cootie, I pulled them out the box. Like, I only had worn them one other time. I said, man, I'm going to wear these shits. So I wear these shits for the Cootie thing. This one here goes in the back and comes out with them. So at the best, I don't think I've ever won a week. Like, at the best, I had a tie that week. And I'm pulling out new shit every week, and I'm still not winning. Something's wrong.
Yeah, but it's not fair. Like, I used to do this. It was part of my job. Like, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've been doing this since I was like 13, bro, 12.
How many pairs of sneakers do you have?
Not as many as I used to.
Okay.
I sold.
That sound like Sean.
Oh, so you ain't here? I sold the Source Air Force Ones.
Really? You sold them recently?
Yeah, Sotheby's.
How much? No, tell me. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No. You about to it was a 30. It was about He came out with a I saw a Don't worry about it. Look, we gotta go.
They can look it up.
Yeah.
All right.
We love y'all.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week, man. Conversations. One love.